Welcome to the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube. This is our Awakening Together weekly gathering. Each and every week we have a different minister who speaks. If you would like to attend our services live, please visit our website, awakening-together.org. Click on Online Sanctuary on the main menu, then How to Enter the Sanctuary. Our services are held Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with all of you and just grateful for everyone to be a part of our gathering today and just to be able to share this message with you. So before we greet one another, I'd like to open with our statement of purpose. So we are an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols. We seek to discern one truth, to rest in its embrace, and our core values. We trust everyone is led by unique inner guidance to one experience called awakening, which is realization of one true self. We live this value by supporting one another on different paths of awakening. We realize everyone is equal and no one has been given spiritual intuition that is an authority over the spiritual intuition of others. We live this value by listening to each other, respecting each other, and allowing each other to be where we are. We accept this true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are. We affirm one true self as the only truth. We live this value by embracing what is helpful on the path of awakening without idolizing any spiritual doctrine as truth. And we accept all forms as temporary appearances permitted through enduring awareness of self. We live this value by honoring all appearances and all experiences while continually reflecting on changeless truth. We accept one true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as we are. Reverend Rhoda, I'm turning it over to you for today's readings. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Erica has actually asked me to read 3 different excerpts. We will be starting with the Course of Miracles in the text. We have been emphasizing perception and have said very little about knowledge as yet. This is because perception must be straightened out before you can know anything. To know is to be certain. Uncertainty means that you do not know. A little bit like this reading this morning. Knowledge is power because it is certain, and certainty is strength. Perception is temporary. As an attribute of the belief in space and time, it is subject to either fear or love. Misperceptions produce fear, and true perceptions foster love, but neither brings certainty because all perception varies. That is why it is not knowledge. True perception is the basis for knowledge, but knowing is the affirmation of truth and beyond all perceptions. All your difficulties stem from the fact that you do not recognize yourself, your brother, or God. To recognize means to know again, implying that you knew before. You can see in many ways because perception involves interpretation, and this means that it is not whole or consistent. The miracle, being a way of perceiving, is not knowledge. It is the right answer to a question, but you do not question when you know. Questioning illusions is the first step in undoing them. The miracle, or the right answer, corrects them. Since perceptions change, their dependence on time is obvious. However, you perceive at any given time determines what you do. Let me read that again. How you perceive at any given time determines what you do, and actions must occur in time. Knowledge is timeless because certainty is not questionable. You know when you have ceased to ask questions. The questioning mind perceives itself in time and therefore looks for future answers. The closed mind believes the future and the present will be the same. This establishes a seemingly stable state that is usually an attempt to counteract an underlying fear that the future will be worse than the present. This fear inhibits the tendency to question all. True vision is the natural perception of spiritual sight, but is still a correction rather than a fact. Spiritual sight is symbolic and therefore not a device for knowing. It is, however, a means of right perception, which brings it into the proper domain of the miracle. A vision of God would be a miracle rather than a revelation. The fact that perception is knowledge at all removes the experience from the realm of knowledge. That is why visions, however holy, do not last. The Bible tells you to know yourself, or to be certain. Certainty is always of God. When you love someone, you have perceived him as he is, and this makes it possible for you to know him. Until you first perceive him as he is, you cannot know him. While you ask questions about him, you are clearly implying that you do not know God. Certainty does not require action. When you say you are acting on the basis of knowledge, you are really confusing knowledge with perception. Knowledge provides the strength for creative thinking, but not for right doing. Perception, miracles, and doing are closely related. Knowledge is the result of revelation and induces only thought. Even in its most spiritualized form, perception involves the body. Knowledge comes from the altar within and is timeless because it is certain. To perceive the truth is not the same as to know it. All right, perfect. Now we are moving to 99 pathways from Sufism, from the intro to Sufism. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. And we are reading the yes and no of existence. And it starts with this beautiful symbol. If you've ever seen the word Allah written in Arabic, it is a quite beautiful writing. So it says, when you are guided to this pathway of the heart, take a moment to reflect on the quality in you that unites all qualities, that joins the yes and no of your being. A good place to begin any journey is to practice the feelings of affirmation and negation. So when choices arise, we can really feel how each alternative resonates within our innermost being. This is one way we can clarify our own sense of affirmation or resistance. Knowing our own true yes and no is part of being fully human. The feelings of yes and no connect to the most ancient names of the divine in the Middle East. These names use the root word al or el, meaning the sacred, something. The ultimate yes, coupled with the root la or lo, meaning the sacred nothing, the ultimate no. People in the Middle East have used some form of this name for at least 4,000 years, from the time of the old Canaanite Alat or Elat, a name of the Middle Eastern goddess, to the Hebrew Elohim, the Aramaic Allah used by Jesus, and the Arabic Allah, used by both Muslims and Arabic-speaking Christians today. The 13th century Sufi poet Jalaluddin Rumi beautifully expresses that the gulf between yes and no, individuality and relationship, diversity and unity may be no more enduring than the wave that returns to the ocean. I looked for myself, but myself was gone. The boundaries of my being had disappeared in the sea. Waves broke, awareness rose again, and a voice returned me to myself. It always happens like this. Sea turns on itself and foams, and with every bit, another body, another being takes form. And when the sea sends words, and each foaming body melts back to ocean breath. Yes and no, existence and non-existence are built into the cells of our bodies. So if we can dive deeply enough into the heart, we will find the place where the two need not split us in two. Perhaps life is calling you right now to let go into unity, to release for a moment everything you think you know about yourself. As you begin to mine the gems you find on the pathways of the heart, remember to return repeatedly to the feeling of bathing in unity's ocean. The many qualities of the heart can be overwhelming to the inner self. Yet the Quran says that the divine created all these qualities, capabilities, and feelings within us before we were born, at the very beginning of the cosmos, when it held us in its heart as part of the divine image reflected in the first human being. We can explore the divine wealth within us for our whole lives and still not exhaust the treasure hidden there. And then we have one final reading, which is verse 27 from Stephen Mitchell's translation of the Tao Te Ching. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. A good scientist has freed himself of concepts and keeps his mind open to what is. Thus, the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If you don't understand this, you will get lost, however intelligent you are. It is the great secret. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you so much for beautiful readings. I know that there were quite a few of them. I just invite you, even during this homily, and then afterward, to just reflect on these verses and these words and how these come together for you today, and how they will inspire action for you and connecting with inner wisdom and rising above fear. So, I think most of you know I live on the East Coast, and if we have some other East Coasters out there, you can commiserate with me in the chat. I feel like there's this reputation on the East Coast where we're all these ambitious go-getters. We're always rushing around. No one has time for anything. There's, visions of very busy people with Starbucks in their hands to get through the day. I live just 30 minutes outside of New York City, and very strange things could be happening, and people just act like this is the most normal thing on the planet. I've had people dressed as like a banana on the subway, or just really random things, and nobody pays any mind. Nobody even looks up. Nobody's making eye contact with each other. And I think we just have this, and I obviously this is not signature to the East Coast, this idea of being ambitious and being a go-getter and just being very, very busy. You can relate to those things, yet there is definitely an extra energy and urgency to be more on top of things, to get things done, this work hard, play hard mentality, this need to plan, to be proactive. Even the gym I go to, it says GSD on the back of our shirts, get shit done, right? This is the mentality. Unlock your full potential, be your best, achieve, get results, do better. Even at the gym, Daft Punk is playing bigger, better, faster, stronger. And there's this do more mentality in our life, in our culture, and it's celebrated, right? Like when we do more, we feel good. We got all these accomplished. I checked my to-do list off. We got there. And I'm hearing more and more people say, I'm really tired. I wish I had more time to just do nothing, or, and it's interesting. So it's interesting to start thinking about where is that coming from, and why are we compelled to do so much more? A few years ago, and I think in my last homily, I shared with you about, my, being a caretaker for my grandparents. And it was really an opportunity to slow down so much. And that's about the time I started my life coaching business. I started the program for ministry and ordainment to be here with you and to be a life coach. And a lot of stuff seemed to flow as I stepped back and allowed these things to sort of happen. And I felt an alignment. Now, interestingly enough, I think that, I'm a Jersey girl, and you can take the girl out of Jersey, but you can't take the Jersey out of the girl. And so what started to happen is that as I started my life coaching business, then I got approached by another coach, and she asked me to work for her company. And I said, oh, okay. And then I was approached by some of my former nonprofit clients, and they said, will you do some consulting? I said, okay. And now you see where this is going, right? So I took on those clients, and then they referred me to their nonprofit boards, and I joined 2 boards and then 3 committees. And then the owner of the gym that I work at asked me if I would be a coach, and I coach 3 fitness classes a week. And that doesn't include my partner and my family and my ministry and my own downtime. And like I said, on the East Coast, we are, we're doers, right? We're doers. We like to do things and get things done. And so I started to feel more and more like my schedule was so filled, yet it was so filled that I didn't have time to live. To that point where I just literally had to stop. Everything just stopped out of necessity. And I began to cut back. And this is the interesting thing that happened is my mind, right, had said, you're lazy. You're unmotivated. You're going to lose everything you worked for. You're not doing enough to deserve the income you're receiving. Whoa. So like, where do we feel like we're doing too much, yet also maybe not enough at the same time? And where is this mentality coming from? This idea that, you know, and I was split, right? Because somewhere between my inner knowing, which we'll talk about, to stop, my mind was telling me to do more. And in that space, I felt completely lost with no clear direction. I didn't have any clarity. My career, my health, minor decisions felt like effort, a lot of effort. So why is it in the middle of like life changes, we suddenly start questioning who we are, right? And where, you know, like where are we doing, what are we doing right now in our life is suddenly like paralyzing us from actually taking direction, right? There's a lot of doing happening, but is there really any inspired action? So how do we stop doing and start knowing what to do next? And where does that come from? So, you know, as Rhoda read in the Tao Te Ching, right? It describes the state of flow in the Tao, right? A good traveler has no fixed plans. What? I'm sorry, I'm planned on my phone until like 9 p.m. Right? Not intent on arriving. So wait, I'm not supposed to know exactly where I'm going? A good artist is led by intuition, lets it go wherever it wants. It's not paint by number, right? The scientist whose career is based on facts and logic and rationale frees himself from concepts. Well, what's being described here? Well, what's being described is this idea of inner wisdom, right? It's this guiding process, not the mind itself, right? That was filling the schedule. So, I mean, like, you know, if you've ever had like a hunch or a gut feeling that something jumped out at you, you just knew, right? You were like, oh yeah, I know, I should have done that, right? Or a feeling like, you know, even a physical reaction in your body that you just didn't pay attention to. And you later were like, I definitely could have known better. You know, you know, I'm sure that there's people that you may have dated that you were like, you knew 2 months in that was not going to work, yet you kept going. Or, you know, so interestingly enough, I had a good friend of mine whose mom was in the 9/11 towers, and they stopped everybody on the 86th floor. And she was a powerhouse woman. She always connected inward, and all those people stayed on that floor. And she said, get me off. Her inner guidance said, nope, I'm not staying here. So when everybody, and this is before like anybody knew what was going on, or if there was any, and she just said, I'm out. She was the only one that made it out from her floor. Now, that's a sad example of not following inner guidance, but it's the truest one for, you know, truest like big example, right? It happens much more in smaller ways. So what really is inner wisdom? Before I answer this question, I want to ask you another one to contemplate. How well do you know yourself? Okay, you know your name. Hopefully you know where you live, where you work, like what you do for a living. You know what your favorite color is, or names of your kids, or your pets. Maybe take it a little deeper. And what about the memories of your childhood? Maybe what are your fears and your sadness, your anger and your joy? What beliefs do you have about yourself? You know, I'm smart. I don't have rhythm. What do you think about other people? And people who don't exercise, they're lazy. Or, you know, I can't trust car salesmen. I don't know why that one came up to me, but right? Something like, what are those beliefs? Are those the things that make up your life, make up who you are, right? Interesting that all those things are outside of you, even your memories and your thoughts. All the things we think we are our perception. So if we are not our perception, who are we? And that is the basis, right, of self-inquiry. Whose favorite color is blue? Who is sad? Who believes this? That question, what we think we know about ourselves, allows us to be empty. And when we're empty, we're open to receiving. Because remember, the perceiver cannot be the perceived. The perceiver detaches from the labels and ideas. And I know that for all of us, there's just like a fear of letting go of this fear of uncertainty in who I am, right? Who I thought I was. So when I fill my day with activities and lots of them, lots of doing, right? I am doing based on who I think I am and what I think I know. So again, let's go back and answer the question about inner wisdom then. Well, how do we make decisions and where does that come from? And what is that inner wisdom that I'm actually following? Well, inner wisdom is to know who we are. It is the communion of God, ourselves, and others, and each other. It's when we learn there's no separation between who we are and this inner knowing that guides our lives. And that's what it means to be whole. This is true knowledge. This is true certainty. And this is, what Rhoda read in A Course in Miracles, right? To know is to be certain. Uncertainty means you do not know, right? Knowledge, it talks about knowledge being power because it's certain, right? But we've often put our knowledge in things outside of ourselves because we don't know who we are. We're looking to the labels and the things we filled our lives with as knowledge. And so we get distracted from what inner wisdom actually is and tuning into inner wisdom, which is constant and is there, right? We're always seeking certainty in our scheduling, in our planning, in our doing, right? But yet we have true knowledge and true certainty in our inner wisdom and who we are to guide us. The perception and the labels are uncertainty because they're temporary. And there's often this split that kind of happens within us, and that's what kind of creates sort of some fear and anxiety, right? Our body even has a physical response to that many times when things aren't in alignment. And we may take on more when we're disconnected because there's just not enough space. We need to create space for knowing. There's self-protection with a busy schedule. There's self-protection from the fear of not knowing, this prevention of failure, this idea that doing less means you are less. And that somehow plans can provide that stability and certainty that inner knowing already provides. But true plans or inspired action are only carried out through inner wisdom, right? And I think that that's where it brings us to the yes or no of existence, right? Is then tapping in to, it says that internal built into our cells of our body. So when we dive into the heart, we will find this place where the two sides of us meet, right? There's this one side that's looking for self-protection, right? In the ego that is trying to prevent failure and trying to create certainty through plans and through doing. And then yet there is this side of inner wisdom that provides the groundwork and the stability to know what to do. And we want to combine these two, right? This is where the intersection of ourselves and God meet. I'll give you an interesting example. This was years ago, and I wasn't really fully tapped into my intuition. In my inner guidance, I knew that it would happen sporadically, but I wasn't really fully connected yet. And I was at a retreat with some other leaders. It was a leadership retreat. And many of what we were doing was like a mental health project. So we were doing advocacy on mental health work. And we had gotten a whole bunch of people to speak about their mental health issues. And we didn't quite have enough speakers. We had a lot of people on video, et cetera, but there weren't quite enough. And I remember hearing this sort of like, it just kind of came out of nowhere, this just idea, this knowing that I need to be a speaker. Because I had battled an eating disorder for, at the time, was like 14, 15 years. And everything else, my mind went, absolutely not. That is not, you're not doing that. One, because I would have had to speak in front of 200 people. And they were filled, the room was filled with other mental health professionals that I worked for, could potentially work for, all my colleagues. I felt like I really truly believed I would have been outcast. That I wouldn't have been hired anywhere else, that people wouldn't have taken me seriously because I had this disease, this disorder. Yet I was being called to read. It was strong. And I remember shaking like a leaf, like, writing the email that I was going to read, and nobody suspected anything. And I remember you could hear a pin drop in the room and people were just, doing their thing. And then all of a sudden I got up there to read and everybody's attention was lasered on me. I got through that thing super strong. And at the end, I burst into tears, because it was the first time I had ever told anybody that I had been experiencing something like this. It was the first way to tell somebody your deepest, darkest secret in front of 200 people. That's when inner wisdom is speaking, right? Because why else would you do that? So what were my fears, right, around not having the career that I was then aspiring to, that I would be ostracized by people that I thought, admired me and respected me for what I did. And what happened instead was I received so much support, and I had people come up to me and ask me to write articles in mental health magazines on my experience and recovery. And then I had even had a colleague I really respected came up to me and said, you had a lot of mental health professionals in the room today that thought they were just going to show up here because this was another event they had to go to, and you taught them something. And I was like, wow, cool. Look how many opportunities that opened when I listened to internal guidance, even though my mind said, no way. All the logic was pointing in a different direction. That's perception. That's perception versus true knowledge. So, when I think about all the difficulties that come from the fact in my life, they come from the fact that I don't know myself. That deep down, we do know who we are, right? And in A Course in Miracles, it says we just need to recognize ourselves again. We need to know ourselves again. To recognize is to know yourself again. Perception is about interpretation. So it's going to change all the time. We want to look for the truth is in constant. And we're truth seekers. When I think of all the decisions that I made that were prompted by fear, they didn't turn out very well. Fear is the opposite of trust. It's the opposite of stability. So when we listen and align with our inner wisdom and not with our fear, opportunities open up for us. We start building a trusting relationship with our highest self. We are whole again and at home within ourselves and with God. We understand each other better. So I want to leave you with a couple of just some things to do, some inspired action and to contemplate on as you're connecting with inner wisdom, right? And so the first thing is to question, is to always question. The first step to undoing illusions is to question, right? For me, in that leadership program, would I really be outcast in my career for telling people what was true? Are all the things that I have labeled myself really true? Am I really not smart? Do I really not have rhythm? Like, do all these things. Like, I just need to question them. Just open that up. Create space between you and your perceptions, right? Be the empty shell. Release what you think you know, right? And once you do that, be still. Stop doing, right? Allow things to take their course. Maybe I didn't need to take on so many different jobs to know I was useful, to know that I could be useful to others. By following inner wisdom, I could have discernment and then actually have inspired action, right? So that's sort of the next thing is, right, listening to that inner guidance of yes or no, right? The yes or no of existence, right? I've even kept a joy journal, right? Just write down what feels good to you. Literally just write down what feels good to you and keep that journal for 30 days. Listen to where that yes or no is pulling you. And then here's inspired action. It's not doing, but inspired action is follow where it leads. Even if it doesn't seem logical or rational, trust in the certainty of inner wisdom and really watch as life unfolds in really exciting ways. Like it led to new opportunities for me to write in mental health magazines and to meet new people and to explore new careers. See what it does for you. So meditate in these and contemplate these steps in connecting with your inner wisdom. Challenge yourself for the things that you think you know. Open up and allow life to lead you. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this message with you today. So grateful. Thank you. All right. I believe that we have a song, Fearless by Jasmine Murray. Just sit with the words of Fearless today and know that fearlessness comes out of inner wisdom. And when you're aligned and you're certain, you're fearless. Thank you. I love that song. And to answer Sharon, or who said that? Glenn. Yeah, I was totally dancing. So at this time, I just love to open this up to open sharing. If anybody has any sort of inspired words or anything that touched them, please, I invite you to kind of come forward and share your thoughts. And I'll just say, while people are collecting their thoughts and considering some shares, just remember there's an opportunity to donate. I know Saida had put in the chat, like, as Church for Awakening Together, primary income is donations. So, please consider a donation. There's a link in the chat. If you're moved to do so, any amount is beautiful. Thank you.
Diane has her hand up.
Oh, beautiful. Diane, go ahead.
Hello, Erica. That was so beautiful. And I love this song. I'm going to add it for sure to inspire me and to get the energy moving and to see that, yes, everything is already within us. And I see when I get back into the fear-based thoughts, there's no room for inspiration, so you gave me a lot of tools to use, like your journal, to see your joy, to look for it and to be aware of it. Okay, what rocks my joy, and yeah, that was wonderful. I loved it. I love your enthusiasm and your shared message with all of us. And yes, I want to thank you for that. And the song is on my list already. So thank you very much. Namaste.
You're so welcome. Thank you for sharing that. And definitely, I'm curious to see what comes out of that joy journal, just putting our attention and our focus there. I read a while ago, where you put your attention is love. Attention is love. So let's put our attentions there.
And Joy has her hand up.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Joy.
Hi. Oh my gosh, that was such a wonderful, powerful sharing. So thank you. I know the doer energy for sure. And I just had this strong prompt to share. I ran into a friend this morning walking with my dog, and we were talking about the feral cats here in La Vida. And she spoke about one particular cat that kept coming back, even though he'd been taken several miles away to live somewhere. And she said that with a feral cat or any cat that's been moved, that's used to being outdoors, this is a metaphor, to keep it indoors for inside for 2 to 3 weeks, so that its internal compass gets reset, its internal navigation. And so I just share that, that taking that time, what a great use of time it is to give that space to find out what we really are. Thank you.
I love that metaphor, and how that inspiration just kind of circled back in your life. And we should all kind of be doing that. I had a colleague who during this time had called me, and she is such a doer. She's always grinding the pavement with everything she does. And she's like, I'm thinking I should just go into the woods and retreat somewhere. And I'm like, yes, I feel like we should all do that. Literally, the feral cat, take time and just have that space to reflect and allow and have creativity. I mean, this is what children do, is play and just allow that space. So yeah, let's embrace our inner feral cat and create that space to go inward. Thank you, Joy.
You didn't see my hand, Joy, but and I'm going to jump in front of you, Rhoda. Rhoda did it the right way.
You're just going for it. All right.
Yeah, I applaud your courage to follow your prompts. I attended a retreat many years ago where part of the retreat was sharing your deepest, darkest secrets that you didn't want to share with anybody. And I actually thought I was going to die. I thought they were going to have to call the ambulance for me. But I was so glad I did that, because I attended that retreat more than once. And the second time I knew what was coming, and 90% of that negative energy was gone. It was just amazing that, we all share this commonality of not being good enough. That's it's manifested in so many different ways, but that's what we're seeking to change. Just follow those prompts. And so yeah, I loved your homily today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. I'm glad that you went on that retreat and you had that experience for yourself. I can completely relate, obviously. But yes, so much comes out of that in really recognizing each other when we get vulnerable. So beautiful. Thank you. Rhoda.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to read today. That was beautiful to just take in as it got read out loud. And so I have to say that just the slow, methodical reading and contemplating of these feels very alive for me right now. And there was one line that I wrote down that I know that I will be contemplating for myself. And that is something you said, which is a busy schedule is a sign of self-protection. And something that many of us have been looking at lately is the true desire to pause, to fully inhabit the pause, to slow it way, way down. This mind keeps saying that every time I don't slow down, there's all kinds of mistakes. But what I'm starting to see even now is that even that is more ego preservation. Even that thought that, oh, if I slowed it down, I'll get it right. That's not where I'm trying to get to at all. So thank you for once again reinforcing this really true desire to just fully, fully, fully inhabit the pause and the transition. Stop rushing through it. Such a great connection to the movie too, by the way. That feels like a really good opportunity to do that. So thank you, Erica. Thank you for your energy and your liveliness and your love.
Oh, thank you. Gosh. I'm so glad that resonated with you. I mean, that's what this is all about, is just being able to be teachers for each other, be students of one another. And like, before we jump into the last song, I just want to share how grateful I am to just have the opportunity to be able to share messages, to hear beautiful messages from each of you, and to just have this session afterwards. I think is just so beautifully reflective of one another, and our experience is so valuable. It's so valuable to one another. So I'm grateful for that, for every weekly gathering that I'm a part of, or that I listen to the recording afterwards. So thank you for this beautiful community, and for who you are, and for being in this work. And, it's amazing. So we move into now our final song. It's The Climb by Miley Cyrus. Again, just be reflective as you listen to the words, just thinking about your own personal climb, what it means to tap into who you are and your inner wisdom, and find the strength that is there. It is present constantly. It's beyond our perceptions. And when you go beyond your perceptions, you're able to keep going and climb. And I believe that that's where heaven is where we are. So enjoy the song.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.